Welcome back into the Canadian Fast Break. This is the inaugural episode, the start of something new here on Off the Line, where we are bringing you CEBL content every single episode, all episode long, all season long. My name is Brady, Locke. You probably know me already, but I am joined alongside my co-host, Jeremy Russo, who's going to be with me this entire journey. I'm super excited. I know Jeremy's super excited, and Geono has been here once again just to give us, some kind of help, some kind of guidance to start things off right and some extra debate. So without further ado, I'm going to let Jeremy introduce himself a little bit before I really introduce this show. So Jeremy, tell the fans, the viewers, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks first off. It's amazing. We're waiting for this first episode to kick off and we're finally here. So it's great to finally get things rolling. But my name's Jeremy Russo. I've had some avid experience in, I guess, post-secondary related industry. I had the Goal Line as a previous podcast covering CFL, NHL stuff. So speaking to some audiences, speaking to the mic is no stranger to me. But yeah, what I am new to, though, is the CEBL this season. And I don't think that there is a better season to start learning the league than this one. We've had so many stories. I've already gotten to experience a game, which we'll get into. And yeah, it's just been great. I'm stationed out in Kamloops, originally from Edmonton, just working on some video journalist stuff here at the local news station. But nonetheless, to be able to have some sports coverage in the mix in my life too always adds some light there. But yeah, no, just learning the league, getting ready to see how the standings, I guess, formates. And we're already having a couple of experiences there. I got to head over to Kelowna Hoopsfest, guys, which was a very exciting experience.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear all about that, and we're going to get right into that shortly. But I'll introduce this show a little bit, the Canadian Fast Break. Like I said, it's going to be all about the CEBL and everything you need to know. Me and Jeremy are going to be covering, the latest scores, headlines, teams, players, stats, everything you're going to need to know. And each episode is probably going to be a little different. Like here today, we're going to break down kind of everything as a whole so far and kind of catch up on what we've missed. But moving into episodes 2, 3, 4, we're going to kind of break certain teams down, certain players, and certain conversations that need to be had, because we only have a 30-minute window here, and we can't break that all down on the National Rundown. So this show is going to be exactly what we need to kind of get more deeper, a little bit more analytical, and I'm super excited for that because, somebody still getting their feet wet in the CEBL scene. I feel like I have so much to, talk about, and I'm so curious about certain things. So this is going to be where we really get to, break that all down. So I'm really excited. But without further ado, I'm really curious about the Kelowna Hoopsfest, and Jeremy, tell us about it, man.
Yeah, well, first off, I had no clue what to even picture when going into a CEBL game. I mean, you've seen stuff online, but to actually go into a town where maybe basketball is not as prominent, it was an experience to see that this fan base that exists in British Columbia, I guess. They all showed up. That's the biggest thing. And I was very skeptical at first, but as soon as you entered into that stadium, it was everything that you imagined and more. We had so much fun. But yeah, I guess more so breaking it down, just watching the game. Final score, 105 to 85, of course, for the Bandits. Have to show my little show and tell here. I got my media badge in the back, and my first ever jersey from the CEBL. So had to represent. I was a big Scarborough Shooting Stars fan at first, I guess, you guys. But I don't know. After that Kelowna game, I'm definitely transitioning to the Western Conference, and I feel like it's more appropriate given that the location's a little bit closer to me as well too. But what an incredible game! I mean, the standout players. The biggest thing for me in this game was 45 seconds in. It was Jalen House. It gave the whole stadium a scare. He was down and out after in the offensive zone, went down. I'm pretty sure it was his ankle as well too. But I was excited to see him play. You hear this big superstar name on the team, and you want to see him contribute all night. And it's definitely something that not only myself was looking forward to, but yeah, he was out 45 seconds in, and it just showcased Vancouver's depth all night. Like Miller Kopp stepped up. You had Grant Shepard who stepped up, hometown hero of Kelowna. He was stoked. I believe he had a 100% shooting percentage inside the arc as well too. Was just a phenomenal like night for himself as well, just to showcase his skills inside of his hometown. But yeah, as a first introduction, I mean, I couldn't have asked for anything better for the CBL. And yeah, just an incredible game as well. I don't know if you guys have gotten the chance to seen either team play yet in person, but I'm sure you guys can back me up on that. The Vancouver Bandits are one of the best teams to watch.
Yeah, I know they're really catching me personally by surprise in the sense that they played so consistently, and it's been such great basketball all around. That leads me to a question. Jalen House going down. What did you see? I'm curious from Tyrese Samuel. Did he play, to your standards? Did he kind of step up in that big role? Because that's something that I've been really curious about this season is can he step into like a lead role?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was just recognizing, again, it was the next man up mentality. You recognize that a leader's down, and that's what multiple players on the roster decided to do, but specifically Tyree Samuel. You saw that through right as the second when he realized that House was out, and right until the end when he got those final two baskets in target score time, right? But he found a way to score in any way possible, either that's drawing a foul, and getting those buckets in, or inside the arc, beyond the arc. It didn't matter for him. He was trying to send feeds to Miller Kopp, who was popping threes. So if it wasn't him scoring, it was his teammates, and it was because of his ability to turn the transition over and just send it back onto the paint on the other side of the court. And he was setting up his teammates, he was setting up himself, and he was just setting up the energy in the stadium as well the whole night.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing to hear, actually, because I've been worrisome, but that's a little bit relieving. But again, another question here. I kind of just want to pick it apart because I haven't been to a CBL game in person yet. I'm really hoping to get to one soon. But you saw the Vancouver Bandits against the Saskatoon Mamba. Me and Geono have been kind of going over the Mamba this whole season. Really curious as to what they really are. What did you see from them? Did you see anything stand out special? Good or bad?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to go into your first CEBL game and look at the Bandits and look at the Mamba and compare both teams. One's on one side of the spectrum doing phenomenal with their skill ceiling, right? And then the Mamba at that point were struggling. So
Yeah.
you kind of had that preface of, okay, you can kind of assume that the Bandits were going to head out on like a hot start. And that's exactly what they did, regardless of what happened. But you saw Dunn Martin. He was one of the players, like if you didn't know anyone on the Mamba, number 7 on the court, he was the fastest one. He was moving. He was trying to add some extra transitions into the play, and you could really tell that he was that drive of the team. But I also found that like Mamba as a whole, they were almost trying to play to the expectations of the Bandits and try to match their energy and pace the whole time of the game. And I think in turn that's what hurt them, because not only do you have to win by being yourself, but you have to know your identity. You have to know how you're able to win games. You have to know what players are able to get you there and be able to just piece it all together. It's all a puzzle, right? And I feel like they were trying to recognize, okay, Jalen House is out. Let's add some more offensive pressure, try to get them scrambled without the star power on their team. And Vancouver, they didn't sway themselves. Again, they all stepped up, and so I think that was the biggest takeaway that I saw from the Mamba that game. And I don't know, maybe next time I'm able to see them that things have changed. Maybe they have, segued themselves into a different identity. But it was definitely them trying to play at a pace of maybe Dunmartin, but also at the same time as a whole, the Bandits. And it just didn't work out for them. And we kind of saw as target time approached as well, too, that they had some light. They gained some urgency late game, but that's what they needed the whole game, all 4 quarters. And unfortunately, it wasn't there. So I think that's definitely something that the Mamba need to step up and try to fix and find their own identity.
Yeah, agreed. And I think you just touched on it right there, identity. I think that's a big thing that we're seeing from some of these, bottom tier teams, that they're struggling to really find how are they going to win games, how are they going to beat these good teams. But this kind of pushes me into my next topic. You just also touched on it there. Target time. I know as somebody new to the CBL, target time is something that, kind of caught me off guard, but also caught me by a good surprise. Like I really love target time as a whole. I think it's something cool and unique that makes the CEBL stand out. So, in your opinion, what do you think of target time as somebody who's really starting to get into this league?
Yeah, I mean, they do a fantastic job too. If you don't know what it is or if you're new, like every single time at the game, they explain what it is after the buzzer. But I believe it's around 2.5, 3 minutes ish after the whistle. You head into target score time. And, it's 9 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, from the leader. And so let's say it's 100 versus 190. So the target score time is going to be 109. Again, they explain this every game, but it comes from like as a perspective for myself from not watching NBA too often. I didn't really know what to expect, but I wasn't swayed away from it maybe as some NBA fans were. It was just a new thing to me just to learn and realize, the pros and cons of it. But I think it's fantastic. It adds this sense of playoff energy, for the
Yeah.
lack of a better term, for the last couple of minutes of those games. And just like in Hoopfest in Kelowna, you saw the Mamba step up and be like, okay, here's target score time. We can raise our urgency. And, it adds the ability for players to be able to find a way to come back and pull off those upsets. But it's it's just something that I think teams need to take a step back on and kind of realize that like there's ways to use this opportunity to pause, figure out what's working, what's not working. Essentially, it's an extra time out there near the end of the game, and again, figure out what's working, what's not working. And Mamba had the littlest glimpse of light in doing that at Hoopsfest. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing about target score time, and it creates that urgency, it creates that playoff format and energy as well in the stadium, and it also provides a lot of more experiences and capability of teams coming back.
Yeah, I think that's, the biggest thing. It's like teams have to go and, grab that win. They got to take it. They can't just rely on the clock running out, which is amazing to me. And it really makes you earn that win. I know you can earn it the whole game, but you got to really earn it in that clutch time, and that's huge. So, moving forward again, let's, take a look at this league more in depth. There's some big storylines coming about. I'll swing it over Geono. I mean, we haven't heard much from him yet, so we'll let him start off here. Calgary's 0-9 now. What are you thinking? I know we talked about it earlier this week, right after they fired their head coach, but, where do you really see them picking up that first win, if, any?
I mean, I'm going to go back to my hot take on the national rundown. I still believe there is a significant chance that Calgary is going to end up 0-13 after Canada Day. I looked at the schedule. We went in depth on this, man. Just nothing is working for this team
No.
right now. Even after the head coach being fired, you usually expect like that, post coach firing bump to,
Yeah.
maybe get you a win, 2-3, and then you start to find your identity. I think that's probably what the Surge were hoping for, but man, right now it's nothing is working right now in Calgary, and you start to think, where big picture do they fit in, and the reason is they don't fit in really anywhere. They haven't proven that they can be that 4 seed yet. I think there's a conversation that they still have time left, but each week that really goes by, man, I'm starting to think more and more that Calgary is not going to make the playoffs.
No, I thought the exact same. I thought, hey, we got lots of time to go, but it's just, game after game. You still don't have your first win on the board. You're in trouble. So, Jeremy, any thoughts on Calgary?
Yeah, I mean, I think the attempt to fire Perry Huang and then grab was it D'Avrio? I believe that's how you say
Yeah,
his
Dave
name, Dave
Lombardi.
D'Avrio.
New
Like,
head coach.
I don't disagree with the coaching change. Something had to change, and if that's going to be what it is, then so be it. But I think bringing Devario in,
Yeah.
that's a pure last attempt at desperation for the Surge, and I think they're trying to find anything at this point to see what works. And again, it's the last pull of the ripcord to try to find some light in any desperation. And at this point, they're not even thinking about playoff contention. It's day to day, it's week to week. Are we even going to be able to sink a basket with a point advantage in a game and finish it like that? And I think that's the biggest speed bump for the Surge at the moment.
Yeah, and I saw that, going in this season, they were so confident in Perry Wong. Like, he's a proven winner in the G League and whatnot. Like, they believe so much in this guy, and I don't think that he is exactly probably the issue that needed to be addressed. I think it's more so within the team. But again, you got to do something, try to spark the guys. It's understandable, but I don't think that was the right move. And I said that earlier this week, but I'll leave it there. But looking at this, it's kind of like a pinpoint for my next conversation. This league as a whole, I would say we've had plenty of time now to get a good sample size, but there's so many things that have happened where it's like we think we know a team, and then the next week it's completely changed, right? Like, is this just how the league is, or do we need even more time, to see exactly who these teams are? I'm going to swing it to you first, Geono. Do you really think that we have seen exactly what these teams are, or have we not, reached that point yet?
I feel like you and me were pretty much on the same page that after the quarter way mark that we were probably going to have a better sense of, who fit in where in the league. But
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I think there needs to be more time. And I did not expect to say that. At the beginning of the season, if you would have asked me, if Calgary would go 0-9, I probably would have told you you're lying and I would not have believed you. But you're starting to figure out, like, Montreal beating Brampton. And
Yeah.
this whole conversation sort of changes around Brampton, and now Vancouver's back in the picture. But there's so many teams in the league that you're starting to think and be like, okay, who's really where, right? I really do think we actually might need some more time. And that is crazy to say in a 24 game season for each team that, we're approaching that midway mark and we're starting to not even know who is the number one seed in the CBL. And that could change. I think there's definitely still an argument for Brampton.
Yeah.
You start to think, okay, it's not uncontested, right? 2 losses on your record, then you start looking at Scarborough, you start looking at Vancouver, and you just start to look, okay, there might be some better options out there than what Brampton might be for the number one seed. So for me, I'm leaning on the side of we need more time to see a little bit more clarity. Everybody's pretty much still in it. I probably reckon there's about 2 teams that are just out of it right now and probably not going to win the championship. But at the end of the day, that this league has proven time and time again, that could change. And I'm referring to the Saskatoon Mamba and the Calgary Surge. Right now, for me, they're out, but that could change next week, man. That's how crazy this whole season has been.
Yeah, I know. You just touched on it there. Like, there's been so many, times where we thought a team was the number one seed, and I'd reckon there's probably 4 teams that we probably have considered the number one seed throughout this entire season so far, which I don't think happens a lot in certain leagues or, if ever in the CBL. But I think that just goes to show how crazy this league is. And Jeremy, I saw you nodding your head with Geono. Do you think you're on the same page there that we need more time?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I feel like we've had such a small sample size already, and it's just, again, we've seen things fluctuate too often. So maybe it's a matter of 2 more weeks. That's what we're gonna figure out in a matter of 2 more weeks. But I think another big thing is how small the rosters are and how impactful it is just to lose a player. And those caliber of championship caliber teams, those are the teams that are able to band together and not be impacted by those small roster changes. And I'll flip it right back to Hoopsfest in Kelowna. That was an excellent example of Vancouver Bandits being able to do so without Jalen House. So I think that's another big thing that changes inside this league and changes performances as well too, as a collective between each clubs is you lose a star player, you lose an effective guard, it's going to change things, and you're going to have to try to find a way to work around it, while your opponents also try to find a way to work back around you from their last game that you faced them, right? So there's a lot of aspects branching out from the tree at the same time, but it does fall into exactly what Geono was saying. I think it's just still like it's a short matter of time, and we just need a little bit more just to see these directions start breaking up a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you just mentioned it there, players, coming out, it hurts a team a lot. But to now touch on something with a player coming in, Khalil Ahmad back with the Niagara River Lions. First game back, they did lose to Scarborough. It was a pretty good effort from them, a 20-point performance from Ahmad, playing 32 minutes a game. We can see that, we were right. He is the identity of this team. He's fitting right back in that role, and they're going to rely on him heavy coming right back into this. So I think it's going to probably take a game or so, to really see exactly where they are with that. But I'll swing it to you first, Geono. What do you think the River Lions can do with Ahmad now back? Do you think they are a threat in this East once again?
Yeah, I was literally just about to ask you guys this. Talking about Khalil Ahmad, I really do think there's a conversation here, and I want to throw this back to you guys. Do you think the Niagara River Lions three-peat is dead, or do you think it's still alive now that Khalil Ahmad is back?
Yeah, I'll actually start here. I think I came into the season saying that, I wasn't too, heavy on the River Lions going back into a three-peat, but going over the film from that last game against Scarborough, even with Ahmad, they look like they're lacking size, and I think, a real defensive prowess. I think that's probably going to be an issue for them. They got heavily out-rebounded, especially offensively, too. They gave so many second and third chances to, Frank Mitchell on the boards. I think it was Bediako as well. Like, they were really struggling against Scarborough in that aspect. So I don't think they're well-rounded enough to go for that three-peat. I think there's other teams, probably, 4 other teams at least, that I'm a lot more confident in this given moment. But I'll let Jeremy, have his thoughts here as well. What do you kind of think on Niagara?
Yeah, I think some fans in the CBL can argue, like Ahmad is one of the league's faces, right? And nonetheless, a leader on the court as well, too. But I also think that the Niagara River Lions, they have a leader established, but you can't have a leader that works properly without followers. And not to say that, everyone's just followers on the River Lions, but that's how a system works, right? Like, you look towards your leader, you look to them for them to set the tone at the beginning of the game. And Ahmad is able to, he has that leadership, he's able to close, he's an elite scorer. So I think that's kind of where, it falls. And then there's also that championship expectation of, oh, maybe the River Lions could three-peat. And it's looking like the question of, are they able to keep that foot on the gas? And like you guys were mentioning, it's a size thing as well too, and they look outbeat physically on the court. And so I think it's also that mental game of expectations that they're truly struggling on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but again, you can't really, count out a championship experienced team, especially going down the stretch. So if they get in the playoffs, like, they're obviously going to be scary, and you're going to have to worry about them. So as of right now, I'm going to say no, but again, I'm not going to want to face them come playoff time, right? So
I like that. I like that take. Like, I think they're right around that spot of being like a third or fourth seed. Like, I just think there's too much ground to keep up with Brampton and Scarborough. They've clearly kind of established themselves in the upper echelon, but again, things can happen where a team can beat any team, and I think that's what's really going to be interesting come playoff time. But man, it feels like we're just going to get some upsets this year. That's really what it feels like.
Yeah, it really does feel like that.
Yeah, like, I feel like we're kind of in the same conversation. I feel like everybody here is on the same page. Like, I'm right there with Niagara that I'm like, it's not dead. It's not like Calgary's hopes of, being a contender this year. It is not dead yet. I think we're getting to a point where you can see the vision coming through with Niagara, what they envisioned, this team being with Khalil Ahmad back. But, with Montreal picking up that win, you start to think, okay, they got to prove it. Like, if they don't start proving it in the next 2 or 3 games, starting tonight, I believe against Scarborough, this is a big test. If they don't win that game, and we have not seen this yet, I can fully commit to saying, it's probably over. But this is a game, if you win it, you start to get back in that conversation. And really, that third seed in the East is totally open right now. And I'm interested to see that, of who exactly takes that third seed between Ottawa, Montreal, and Niagara, and who ends up in the fourth seed. So I'm right there with you guys.
Yeah, agreed. And I think this game tonight will be huge. Like you just said, Montreal, Niagara, like, that's 2 teams, at the bottom trying to fight for that spot. So as early as it still could potentially be, like, we're starting to get into some territory where there's some very meaningful games. Yeah. But to go forward, let's kind of stay in the East for a sec. Let's talk about Brampton and Montreal, because that game was very interesting to me. I watched it back and I saw that Montreal, really played well. But I think Brampton also had some very, sloppy turnovers, some interesting plays where I think they allowed Montreal to get confidence and get themselves back in that game. So for me, I don't know if it was more where I'm leaning that it was a Brampton, choke in that game, or Brampton, not even gifting, but, letting them in the game, as opposed to Montreal being the true better team and true more skilled team. That's kind of where I'm at on there. But do either of you have any thoughts on that game as a whole, or where Montreal's kind of outlook is now going after that?
I mean, I can start us off. Like, I watched that game. To be honest with you, it feels like Brampton did enough to win. That's the funny part. Like, you look at the stats, I have them right here. Like, it felt like they were in it all game. Like, looking at it here, 105 to 92. Like, that's a 7-point difference, right? Like, you're talking about, 2 threes and a free throw, and you're up there. Like, I think what was really interesting here is obviously Javon Freeman-Liberty. We've talked about this, you and me, Brady, a little bit. It feels like, he is their ride or die guy. I still believe Montreal is too top heavy. I strongly believe that, and I think this actually helps prove their case that when JFL drops 34, they can win any game, but when he goes, 11 points or less, like he has for like majority of the season, they start to struggle. And I really feel like you look at the lineup, right? Quincy Guerriere at 16 and then Ant Nilsson at 15. Like, there isn't anybody right there with them that you look at Javonte Smart and Matthew Cleveland in Ottawa, you can kind of see like those guys can go either or each night. Like, it really feels like right now there isn't necessarily like that second star emerging in Montreal. And that's what I think has really been the difference. Like, if JFL isn't coming out and making shots and, he struggles at times, Montreal's going to struggle. But I think that's the interesting part, is that Brampton just didn't do enough to contain Javon Freeman-Liberty. Like, and that's going to be the story for any team that plays Montreal this season. You shut them down, you're going to win basketball games. If you can't, you're probably going to end up losing a game that you probably could have won. Because honestly, you look at it, Sean East the second, 28 points. He's missing his duo, but they've been pretty good this season. So I think it was just a lot of just not being able to guard Montreal's ride or die offense, and I think that's really the bigger picture here. Is I still think there's conversation for Brampton to still be the number one, but again, they're down a guy, so that's kind of where I'm at. Like, there's so much you can kind of take away from that game.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there, and I think it's definitely a Javon Freeman-Liberty or bust kind of team, right?
Yeah.
But again, I think with Brampton, there's still they still have a very high potential, especially with Jameer Nelson coming back. So I'm still waiting to see that happen and to see really where this team is. But this whole season I've been happy with their outlook, and I don't think there's a reason to kind of not be happy still at this point. So, Jeremy, any thoughts on Brampton or Montreal?
Yeah, I think Brampton maybe it was just a case that night of them maybe being a little bit too comfortable, and I think they could use that opportunity as a learning experience and maybe grow from it. You have the potential, you're 7-1, of maybe even thinking that far ahead, if you are, of being that number one seed, and you're going to be playing against the lower seeds of the team, and if that happens to be Montreal who squeezes in, this is easily one of a matchup that is going to catch Brampton off guard. So I think this was an excellent wake-up call for them to be like, okay, these are maybe a championship pedigree team that we could be seeing potentially in the future. And, I think that, they'll be able to use it for the future to not count them out and not stay too comfy. And Montreal had fantastic movement throughout the season. We've seen them try to get the wheels underneath them. We've seen glimpses of light in different aspects for them as well, too. But that game was like Montreal finally being able to find those pieces of the puzzle and glue them all together. And so we're just hoping now at this point that Montreal will be able to keep the puzzle together as they move forward, especially playing against those bigger and better championship degree level teams.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think that's a great takeaway from that for sure. But before we kind of wrap this up, let's talk about the 3 big games tonight. I know we just kind of mentioned Niagara, Montreal. We have Edmonton and wait, who's Edmonton playing? Edmonton is
Scarborough.
Edmonton, Scarborough. Yes, that is. Yeah, Edmonton, Scarborough, and then we have Vancouver, Ottawa. So really, really big matchups. I think those are all teams, fighting for some crucial ground. Interesting to me is Scarborough. Again, what I saw against Niagara was, Miles Powell taking over once again. I don't know if you saw that last play, the game winner. I think I sent it to Geono, the clip. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like he wanted that three. He was finding any way to get that three, and man, he makes it look so easy. Like his shots, every time I'm watching it, it's just a step back three. Like he's just no effort at all. Like Miles Powell, man, he's continuing to be my MVP favorite. So
Yeah, he's the Iceman.
I don't know.
I don't know if Scarborough's
Yeah,
like coined that nickname for him yet, but I think we got to call him the Iceman. Right? I may have seen that on his
yeah,
Instagram story. I don't know, but either way, we're calling him the
I
Iceman
like
from
that.
now
Yeah,
on. That's his new nickname because I watched that and I was like, this dude's like double teamed, and I'm like, he still has he's confident enough to shoot that ball. I'm like, hey, yeah, I
yeah.
messed up on the Scarborough and Niagara River Lions, but that's because they played recently. I'm like, forgive me. Yeah, I'm going to the Stingers Scarborough game tonight, so I probably should have known that, but you know what? It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, definitely a big game for Niagara and Montreal. That's definitely going to be one. Again, you start to see a little bit of movement in the third seed, and who kind of has the edge, but yeah, keeping it on topic to definitely Miles Powell is the Iceman.
I love that actually for him. I think that's so fitting, and
Yeah.
especially from where he is. It's like it's so close to Toronto. It's like yeah, we'll give it to
Yeah.
him. And then Jeremy, I'm gonna swing it to you. You're Vancouver Bandits in action against Ottawa. What are we kind of thinking there? You think Vancouver's got that game, or is Ottawa kind of sneaky one to take this?
I mean, Vancouver's at home, so they obviously have that little bit of leverage over them as well too. But just like in the East with Montreal and Brampton, I think Vancouver has to realize, they have that skill ceiling. They've proved to themselves that they can now, perform without their star players. But at the same time, they have to recognize they can't be too comfortable, especially playing against the Blackjacks, who have shown those streaks of consistency, also inconsistency, right? But mostly consistency. They found a way to win games. They're sitting at 500 now. And yeah, I think it's no light feat to just tread over. I think they need to find a way to not pull the wool over their eyes, I guess, and just play some basketball as if they're playing against the Niagara River Lions, or they're playing against the Brampton Honey Badgers sitting at 7-2. It doesn't matter who you're playing; you come out with that exact same pedigree of performance that you did when you lose your star player. And if they can copy and paste it, then they'll pull out the win. But it's a matter of staying humble and recognizing that your opponents are right in front of you, and they can turn it around just as easily.
Yeah, and we've seen it all season long. Really, any given night, any team can win, except I mean maybe Calgary at this point, but.
Yeah.
Any team has shown that they can really take a game. So it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited for these three games. But before we, get into a fun little Jeremy's power rankings to end us off, I want to swing it to you, Jeremy, and ask you one more question. Because you're the newbie here, you're coming onto the show. I'm curious, what has surprised you most this season? Because me and Gianna have been able to, break it down each week, but you have had all these weeks to, really compile some stuff together. But what has surprised you most?
Um, Honestly, it was one of those talking blocks that we previously mentioned. It's rather not the inconsistency of the league. I don't like to use that word, but it's how quickly like things can fluctuate, and I think it's just a matter of teams being able to find a way to beat other teams that quick, and it's because they have that sense of urgency, because they know that this league is so short and the season is so short. You don't have that many chances to face that team again, or find a way to win or a workaround. So it's a matter of setting the tone, and letting your opponents try to find that way to beat you, rather than you being on that other side of the scale and trying to follow and chase that runway that's now set behind or in front of you.
Agreed. Yeah, fully agreed. And that's why I think this league is so exciting. And that's why I've loved, talking about it so far. So very interesting, very interesting. But again, like I just said, let's leave it off with your power rankings. And me and Gianna will kind of, give our live reactions to this, because this could
Yeah.
be interesting and we could agree with some, but we could probably very much not so agree as we have so far. So without further ado, take it away. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, I mean, number 10, it's going to be a sad Calgary Surge. I mean, there's not too much to say there. Just struggling 0-9, still looking for their first win. It's just it's more so about maybe a matter of time, or I've said a matter of luck. So you don't know which one's coming first. They could earn their basket, or they could just, have that one call that's drawn for themselves, and that's a matter of what makes them win. But they're sitting at number 10. I don't see, like we've, I guess, collectively came to the agreement of potentially not seeing a win until maybe Canada Day, right? But I guess moving on to number 9, I got the Saskatoon Mamba. I was able to see a glimpse of light from the team as well too during Hoopsfest, so it set some standards for me for the team. But I do think that they do have some work around as well too. But Dunmartin looked fantastic again, setter of the tone, especially for most nights on the court as well too. Small, agile, and I think the team needs just to find a way to work the way around them. I'll leave those first. I'll do like a little bit 2 segments. I'll get your guys' reactions there.
Yeah. Well, I think me and Geono can probably both collectively agree that that's, kind of where we had them. Again, we were kind of, I mean, personally, I ticker between the two, but right now Calgary's shown me nothing, so they deserve to be at the bottom. Saskatoon 3 wins. You got to at least be a 9. We can't have you rock bottom, right? So
Yeah, that's where mine are too. Mine's Calgary 10 and number 9 is the Mamba. That's exactly what I had on the national rundown.
Sweet. Yeah, I guess I'll keep going then. This is the first Jeremy Russo hot take of the Canadian Fast Break. I'm slapping the Niagara River Lions at number 8, guys.
Wow. Okay.
I think there's too much expectations to three-peat. I think they're tired. The foot is off the pedal. They're outmatched. They're outsized. And I just don't think that they're going to be able to grab that third title back to back to back. No way.
I like it. I don't hate that at all, honestly. I think it's tough. It's like I said, that playoff time scares me a little bit. But again, like everything you just said, I agree. Team wise, like looking at their outlook, it's not great. Out of Khalil Ahmad, like really. So
Yeah.
No, that's exactly it, right?
I'm going to stay on the side of I believe there's hope, and I think tonight will be very pivotal to see who comes out ahead and who has that edge on the third seed. I will mention that. I'll say that. I had Niagara at the 7, but that was before Khalil Ahmad came back. So we'll see how long that goes, and if you end up running right. I'm right around there, but I'm more viewing them as they could rise. They could be the one that I think could rise, but you never know. I feel like that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Fair enough. Okay, so now I'll just do, I guess, the middle of the pack here. We'll just speed run these 3 because these are the hardest to analyze for me. I feel like, we still need a little bit more time to kind of see the directions that they've been branching off. But number 7, I have the Blackjacks sitting there. Number 6, I have the Stingers. And then number 5, I have the Alliance.
Okay. Interesting. I personally, as we have seen throughout this season so far, I'm a big Blackjack believer. So that one kind of hurts me. I think I have them. Yeah, I have them at 4. I ranked them at 4 the other day. And then I did have Montreal pretty low, but that was before that big game against Brampton. So I'm all right with that. And then the other one was Edmonton. I see a little bit of positive with Edmonton. So, I don't hate that at all. I'm not the only one I'm probably upset at is little Ottawa, but yeah, that remains to be seen.
I have Ottawa at 4 too. I have Ottawa at 4. We both kind of were in agreement with that one. I think the biggest one me and Brady had a disagreement on was it Scarborough that we had?
Yeah, because I put them at 5 and you put them I think 2. No,
mine was 3. I have them at 3.
3.
Yeah,
because then I put Winnipeg at 2, and then you had them lower.
That was it. Yeah, I have Winnipeg at like 4 or 5. I have them at 5. Yeah.
Yes.
That was the big disagreement.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I'm in that same pedigree as you, Geono. Then I put the Sea Bears there at number 4, kind of working their way up. We've seen their insane depth. Of course, Teddy Allen, you can't rule him out. You're never ruling him out. But yeah, no, I just think, especially over last night's game against the Surge, they were down 1 point. The Surge was against the Winnipeg Sea Bears, and then the Sea Bears flew off after that, and the Surge said sayonara to the hopes of their first win. But I think they've shown incredible depth so far, and that they have that level of championship expectations, not only in the city as well too, but inside the locker room.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Okay, so where do you have going from there then? What is this, top 3?
Yeah, top 3 there.
Top 3 now.
Okay, we'll start with number 3. I'm going to put the Brampton Honey Badgers at number 3.
Wow. Okay, that might be your hottest one yet.
Yeah, I think they're sitting comfortably right now. But I
Mhm.
think after that Montreal fall off and that
Yeah.
upset, I think that again it was a wake up call for them, and I think they got a little bit too comfortable. And there are other teams that have shown the exact same level of degree of play as them. And yeah, maybe it was a good start mixed with a great level of consistency as the weeks flew on, and that's how they're able to uptick their record. But I definitely have them at number three. Number two. I have the Scarborough Shooting Stars. Miles
Yeah.
Powell, again, another contributor that you can't rule out, but I don't know. I think at the beginning of the league, when I was learning about the CEBL, this team was prefaced as a Premier League, and it was one of the most premier, like I guess, teams of the league. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if there's like some like sway with like individuals online saying that, but I think people also had and counted that as like they realized that they were this Premier League and that they weren't going to perform to their expectations. So I feel like they had this narrative already placed onto them before the season started, and they were able to like not only perform to what they are doing right now, but they're able to overcome that narrative before the season even started. So and they're on the uptick right now too. So I think their stock is going to be slowly going up.
Wow,
Yeah,
I actually really like your analysis on that one. That's very,
yeah,
very. I agree with that a lot because even me, as you know, not a CBL fan, that was probably one of the only teams that I kind of like had heard of and like knew of. So I think that goes to show that that's 100% right. Like Scarborough was one of the faces of this league, right? I mean, that could come along with the J. Cole thing. That could have been part of why I knew them. But
yeah.
yeah, I think Scarborough was just one of those standout teams. So I agree with that.
Yeah, well, they're also backed by OVO too, so like sometimes like you'll see some guys like show up there, which is like kind of cool. They've done some like cool OVO like crossovers before, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna disagree with your number one pick with the the Bandits. I have them at two, so it's not bad, but I love Brampton. Like they're my number one right now, and like I said this, before. I am going with my boy Mark Cuban, man. Like I love that guy. He's clearly seeing something, and he's called himself a Toronto man, and I'm gonna be on that same boat. I think my hottest take is I think honestly it's going to be somebody from the GTA that wins it this year, whether that's Brampton or Scarborough. I think it's going to happen, man. It's going to happen, and I
Yeah.
feel it's going to be Mark Cuban's boys that get it done and bring it home. But you never know, man. It's all over the place. So I mean, I'm going to go. I have Brampton number one, but I can understand. Like I said, I still understand the loss and all that stuff. I still believe in Brampton. I got to go with it until they prove me absolutely wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually agree with you there. Like I had Brampton at one and I had Vancouver at three. So, and really, I think this could almost be like another like pretty big overreaction to that Brampton Montreal game. Like I last week before that game happened, I had Montreal nine and Brampton one, and then to look at you where you have now, I think you had Montreal five. Was Montreal five?
Yep.
Yeah, so
Nice.
Montreal five, Brampton three, and that's
Yeah.
that's crazy how big of a jump that is. I mean,
Yeah.
that's two different like personal, opinions, but again, like to look at that, that's crazy. That's just what stands out to me. But I'll let you talk about your number one pick there, Vancouver, and why you have them.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I think that this is maybe it developed off of bias, but as I was, being able to analyze some more teams, and especially seeing this in person, it helped so much to see this team. Like it just seemed like a Cinderella story to not be able to pick this as a number one team. You see your star player go out in any sports culture. That's a huge deficit to your roster, no matter what you're playing, no matter what sport. So the fact that they're able to come out and take a win was big to me, and that's how I recognized that this team wasn't playing around. It doesn't matter the time or the game. They want to win, and they're going to show you how to win. Other than that, as well, too, Tyree Samuel, Miller Kopp, Joyner, Perlin, Mulder, Shepard, all of them they stepped up and they stood out. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys. I've never seen a basketball game before this, but you have those star players and maybe some shines of depth, but you don't see like 6, 7, 8 players on the court at a time making a difference and like truly making a difference, not just getting a basket to complete, the sequence, right? Like these guys stood out and they were the ones who separated themselves from the pack on the roster. And I believe Miller Kopp right now too, he's third in the league for 3-pointers. And like that just shows his team's able to recognize his strong suits, and all of Vancouver is able to recognize each other's strong suits, and they've just created this fantastic mold of knowing what works when and what to do at specific times. Exhibit A, when you lost one of your best leaders. And yeah, it was a shining show for the Bandits, and I think that they're going to win the CEBL championship.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. I think that's a great ending point. I love, how we had some discrepancies there, but yeah, this is super exciting stuff. And, to share your rankings for us to break that down. That's what this is all about, have a good debate. And I think we brought up some great points and some great storylines here on this. I know we ran probably 15 minutes or so long here, but I think it was well deserved, well needed, right? We're going to break down certain teams going into the next episode, so it probably won't get to that point, but you never want to cut a debate short, right? So I think that's a great way to leave this off. I'll let you both give some final thoughts before we head out. Giano, take it away. Any final thoughts here? Things you're excited for us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see the Edmonton Scarborough game tonight. Obviously, when this comes out, everybody will know the result.
Yeah.
Brady had them going 8-0, and man, they feel awfully close to getting that done.
This would have been the game, right? This would have been the 8-0 game.
This would have been the 8-0 game, and I really feel like if they win tonight, I would say that hot take was an A+. To be honest with you, I don't think it takes a lot of guts to come out and say a team's going to win like 5 of their next games in a row. And I mean, for them to go 4-5 if this all plans out, I mean, that's gonna be pretty crazy. So for me, I'm like, that's the one thing I'm really interested in. To be honest with you, Edmonton's looking really good. Like this could be Edmonton's, coming up game. Like if they win this game, they may be back on the main stage, and maybe we're talking about them in the championship contention pick. But man, that's the interesting part about this game. This one is the one to watch. Is Scarborough going to kind of ascend to that number one, or is Edmonton going to kind of start to creep into the championship picture? That's what what I am looking for in this game. There's so much to unpack here.
Yeah, I fully would not be surprised if Edmonton comes out and win this game. Like it really could go either way, but I think it's again a pivotal game for both teams, and I think it's a pivotal game for all the teams involved tonight.
Yeah.
But Jeremy, for you, final thoughts here. This was your first episode. How did you enjoy it? Are you excited for the rest of the season?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. Nothing better than talking with some friends, about some sports. It doesn't get better than that on a Saturday. And the World Cup's going, so we just have a whole bunch of things going on at the moment. But yeah, I'm really excited to see in the next couple of weeks, just to honestly see the middle of that pack start to separate. Like Geono said, Edmonton's on the come up right now. Montreal's starting to find some light. So it's just a matter of weeks, maybe games, before we start to see those avenues start to divide. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And a big shout out to, I'd like just to say to Geono Offline Sports and also the CEBL for just being so considerate and allowing us to come to these games. And this is that if it wasn't for them, that we don't get this analysis, right? Like we can watch games, but to be able to step into that real environment to break down for everyone listening is how we get those hot takes, those good crazy predictions. So it's just been a wild ride so far. So I can't even imagine the rest of the season. And yeah, I'm just super excited to film episode 2 already. We're not even there.
Yeah, no, this is exactly how me and Jono felt, filming, the National Rundown. Like it's amazing stuff. And off the line, I feel like we're doing some great stuff here. So we just got to keep pushing forward. I'm super excited to keep filming these episodes with the both of you. And, it's really a pleasure, right? So, anyways, we'll leave it at that. This has been the first episode of the Canadian Fast Break. So make sure you guys come back for some more analytical breakdown. Go see North of the End Zone, which is out now. And stay tuned for more of the National Rundown. So, I've been your host, Brady Locke, Jeremy Russo, and Gianno Alosio. And we will see you next week.